part of the program will be taught by Swami Yogatmananda. Pranam Swamiji, welcome to our global satsang. I'll give a small bio of Swami Yogatmananda ji. He was born in 1953 in the Karnataka state, India. Swami Yogatmananda joined the Ramakrishna in 1976. He received his monastic vows in 1986. He holds a master's degree in mathematics and has been ordained the life of Swami under the Ramakrishna Mission order. He was posted as the head of Ramakrishna Mission in Shillong, Meghalaya State, India. He came to the United States in the summer of 2001 as the Minister of Vedanta Society of Providence. Swami Yogatmananda's present responsibilities include conducting Sunday service and weekly study classes and organizing spiritual retreats for the Vedanta Society in Providence, Rhode Island. He is also associated with the Hindu religious affiliate at the Brown University and also as the chaplain at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. We welcome Swami Yogatmananda ji to speak now. Swamiji.
Thank you very much. Let us begin. Am I audible enough? Hello? Just testing the voice. Am I audible? Please let me know.
You're audible, Swamiji. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Om Namo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Vanshirishibhyo Om Namo Gurubhyaha Om Namo Bhagavate Ramana Maharshye Namaha. With salutations to the great lineage of teachers and saluting to Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, let me first express my deep gratitude for getting this opportunity to participate in this birth anniversary celebration of Bhagavan. And I took a topic today for discussion, the gems from the teachings of Ramana Maharshi, and I'm mostly taking from the quotes from this wonderful book that Padamalai that I had not read previously, and I found a great joy while studying this book. And it certainly is full of so many gems of real non-dual teachings that were emanating from Ramana Maharshi's life and his words. So more from his silence. How the silence can be eloquent, that could be, just a second, you turn it down and then switch it off. Well, the fan was put on here. It was, so sorry friends for the interruption. Anyway, so I found great joy in studying this book uh, by a very saintly person who remained and did the spiritual practice in the presence of Ramana, a great literary figure in Tamil. So this book was edited by another wonderful Ramana scholar, that David got, and the translation was, of course, by just two. So anyway, I won't spend much time on that, but as you see that the main tool of communication used by Raman Maharshi was silence. The teachings were communicated through mostly silence, and occasionally words were used. But these words were so illuminating that they were just like the in an artwork you have a border to the artwork, a frame or a border. So the border actually is to illustrate or to highlight the main artwork. So these words are like the border to the main body of teaching, which was actually the deep silence that was so eloquent. He was the real picture, physical manifestation of that great verse of Shankaracharya in Dakshinamurti Stotram, that Maunam Vyakhya Prakatitara Brahma Tattvam Yuvanam, that it is the in the form of silence, the great principle, the great reality of Brahman got manifested. And it is also said that it is Chitram Vatataror Mule in the same hymn, that imagine that the old Indian setting where the students would come to a teacher who is seated under a banyan tree, and the students would sit around him. And so it is like that. Chitram Vatataror Mule. Imagine that picture, Chitram, uh, in front of your eye of mind. That is how the teacher is seated. Uh, but wonder here is that the Vriddha Shishya Guru Yuva, the Guru is a young person, and the students are advanced in age, Vriddha. It is described that the Vriddha means they are rich in experience. Those who are uh, uh, due to age, they have got now the experience and now ready to absorb the teachings of the ultimate reality. So some experience of this world, how the things in the world are fleeting and coming and vanishing, that understanding has to come before one can actually go in search of something that is permanent. So we like things that stay. Impermanent things we do not really care for if we understand its impermanence. So therefore the Vriddha means old, means have enough experience of the impermanence of this universe. Everything is vanishing. And when we know that the things are impermanent, we never get attached to them. Like one's seat in the plane, that you know it is impermanent. For a few hours, you think that it is mine, but you are not attached to it. So it is, if there is glue poured on the seat, then you won't sit on it. It is, you want that, you know that it is impermanent. And so you are eager to leave it as soon as the plane lands. don't get attached to it, because we actually know that it is impermanent. So when we get this understanding that everything in this world is just coming and passing in the oblivion, as it were. But what is the permanent background of all these? And we all want to know that, because therein lies all the bliss that we are seeking, all the satisfaction that we are seeking, the true existence and immortality, it is there in that. A permanent background of the impermanent shadows that are being projected on that. So there, all these are sitting, and the teacher is young in the sense, not just in age, but the principle, the Brahman, the ultimate divine principle is ever fresh. It doesn't undergo any change. It is always young. There is no getting old to it. So that being the teacher, and how the teaching is imparted, that it is Gurustu Maunam Vyakhyanam. The teacher's teachings are imparted through silence. And what happens to the disciples? Shishyastu Chinna Samshayaha. The doubts of all the disciples, they just vanish. And that is a very powerful way of communication. So, Bhagwan Raman's most instructions were given like that. The words were just like frames. But so, what we have to do now is, from these frames, we have to recreate in us. It is a task, and that is, we can get to this task, we can accomplish it only if we feel the value of the life that Bhagwan Raman lived. So it is, otherwise we will just stick to the words. That is what the academicians seem to do, that they stick to the words, they only see the frame around the artwork, miss the actual artwork. So this is very important, that all these teachings are the expressions of the great life of God consciousness that he lived. So we can see that from that is emanating these teachings. He just when he was a teenager, he got this tremendous experience, and that experience of being divine. I am not this body, and he could see that it is not just an intellectual understanding, but actual experience. And all the remaining 54 years of his life, earthly life, he was just expressing this great experience. So he was asked one question that is not from this book. In another book, you find this, that he was asked this question, that it is said by the scriptures that the experience of the truth can never be expressed. It is beyond expression. Is it so? And Raman Maharshi very clearly answers, yes, it is beyond expression. But what the expression does is to indicate that truth. The indication, it's like a map, like in the that old very popular treasure stories, treasure hunt and such stories, that somebody finds an old map somewhere, and then there is the indication where the treasure is hidden. Now one has to actually uh, find out the place with great effort. And then after finding that place, you have to dig there and get that treasure out. So the words of the scriptures are like that, just indications, the directions for us to travel in a way, travel to transform our life. And thus we get to that stage where now we can actually see what the great sages are telling. Exactly, the expression is very weak. It is in Sanskrit, in Vedanta literature and other philosophical literature, they have what is called Chandra Shakha Nyaya, the moon and the branch analogy. Means somebody asked another gentleman at night that has the moon risen? And this man, nodding in affirmative, pointed the finger. Now the finger was uh, uh, pointed the finger not in the sense to we point fingers at each other, not in that sense. It is he pointed the finger to show the moon, but the moon was hidden by a branch of tree. So he was pointing, a finger was pointing actually at the branch. But the purpose was not to show the branch, but the halo of the moon that was being seen from beyond that branch. So, similarly, the scriptures indicate that this is how you can see the truth, this is how you can experience the truth. So, we shall gradually proceed to a few of the gems. We don't have a lot of time, but whatever chance opportunity we can get, we can discuss that. So, here in this beautiful book, he has the author has used the word padam, which has the meaning of feet, feet of the Lord. Also, it indicates the goal, um, like uh, in Bhagavad Gita, that the Padam. So, that particular goal of life, the ultimate destination, that also is called Padam. So, in both sense, means it is God and the worshipful feet of the God or the God-like man. So it is that is the Padam. So here in this book you see that Padam mentions this. So means it is the teaching of Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi, or this is how the scriptures presented. It is indistinguishable. It is that is how very beautifully, very poetically this has been presented. That the teaching is also appearing from the mouth of a person. That mouth is just an outlet. Like you open the faucet at your home to get water. Now the faucet is connected to some big water tank somewhere, and from that you are getting actually the connection to that tank through this faucet. So therefore, although these words are emanating from a mouth, there is this storehouse, a divine storehouse from which these teachings are coming. So you never drink the faucet, you drink the water coming from the faucet. But to get water, you have to go to the faucet. So one has to understand this connection between the two. So it is here is this idea that he was asked, a visitor one asked Bhagwan if he had ever thought of traveling around India. People get an idea, let me go to this holy place, let me do this pilgrimage. And For certain people, it is beneficial, it is good. Many times a person gets bored because we do not find joy in one place. We thought there will be joy there, but then soon we start feeling this is a funny word. Swami Ranganathanandaji mentions that in older English literature you don't find this word bored, boring. This is a new culture invention. So this word you start finding only after 1950s. So till then the word you rarely find in the older English literature. So you start feeling bored. So now you want to travel somewhere. So Bhagwan Raman was asked, do you feel like traveling? Bhagwan, I have never had any such idea. Though several devotees have proposed it. Rajeshwarananda once said he would arrange for a special train to take me all over India. But what is the use of my going anywhere? I am not able to see anything. Uh, it is why not that he was blind, but the same God is everywhere. Nothing very special in different places. And that is worth, those things are worth seeing for people who want to see the variety in this world. Nothing as such wrong in it, but the one who is seeing the same God everywhere, now what is the use of it is, there is a famous Bengali song that Sri Rama that Gaya Ganga Prabhat, the names of many famous pilgrimage places are told. But who wants that if anyway your breath is constantly saying the name of the Divine Mother, and if that is how you give up your body repeating that name, that Gaya Ganga Prabhasati Kanchi Kanchi Ke Baat Ka Hai? Who looks for all those things? It is if you are constantly rooted in that divine awareness, then going from place to place, what is the use? Hmm. I met one Swami who was actually wheelchair bound at Belur Math when I used to be in training center. And then there was an attendant who would come and take him around in the wheelchair. Uh, that provision was there. But the Swami said, I don't need to go here and there. He used to teach us some scriptures. So, Upanishads and like that. So, we asked him, why don't he's there, he can take by wheelchair to you to. What is there? Nothing new is going to be seen there. I don't need to. So it is being, established in this divine awareness. You don't need to go. If you go, fine. It doesn't make any change in your awareness. So this is very important something, showing that deep awareness established in Brahman. So it is. Uh, I will read another question. Question: when I meditate, I feel a certain bliss at times. On such occasions, should I ask myself, who is it that experiences this bliss? This is when somebody becomes quite used to do the meditation in the proper way. Then a special joy starts coming in. And many times it is felt uh, somewhat erroneously that I am now coming close to God, because this joy is not coming from any contact with object, at least seemingly. So he asked this question to Raman Maharshi, that just to verify that this is the right kind of joy, is this the expression or experience of realizing the ultimate? And he answers that if it is real bliss of the self, that is experience, if the mind has merged really in the self, such a doubt will not arise at all. Uh, Question itself shows real bliss was not reached. It is, uh, he wanted to give the clear indication to the student and not talking just to make that student feel to have his day made as it were. Oh, I got the real bliss. No, know that you have to go forward. You have not understood much. There is this story comes in Kena Upanishad that the teacher told that what is the truth that you are asking, the self that is governing everything. So the student says after coming, as if he has understood. The teacher says, if you now think that you have understood just a little. So further practice, it is one gets a joy, like a little, baby becomes 2 years old and thinks that I know everything. So it is like that one goes a little bit into this meditation and spiritual practice and starts feeling, now just almost there, isn't it? No, you have to study, go further. This joy comes, uh, but it is considered an obstruction to dwell on that joy. In Vedanta Sara, a great book, and many other similar texts, you find this that Anandanubhava, the experience of this kind of a joy, uh, will stop meditation. That meditation, the obstructions in meditation are being told there, and in describing the obstructions of meditation, this one is told that you have just come to one little higher step, that's all. But if you just marvel at that and hold on to that, you will not move forward or may actually go down. So it is therefore told that one should not. And it so beautifully clears up that doubt. Another gem we shall see. I am looking at the watch. It is moving rather fast. But look here, it's an important quote from Bhagavan that it is about love and surrender. I am particularly interested in that topic because many times it is thought that in non-dual Vedanta there is no need for devotion, prayer, and surrender, and so forth. It is, and many so-called followers of Ramana Maharshi have told me, oh, this worshipping and temple and the shrine, that is not at all necessary. And in non-dual Vedanta, there is no such thing. But that is not what this great experiencer of the non-dual truth is telling. He is advising the spirit of surrender and devotion. And this is a question. One that he was telling, he's telling here, it is page 216 of this book. And these quotes are titled Surrender, Love and Devotion. So he says, offer yourself up unconditionally to the power that is your own source. Your own source. It is, we should think of our own source. It helps a lot. That is, in Vedanta, you see, that is how the God has been defined. This your own true source. Why we need to look for the source? Because we see that we are alive. There is, we say, I was born on such and such day. Means before that, there was no I. I remember when I was very little, say about 4 years old, and then my parents would discuss many things, and I would ask, well, where I was then, and they would say, well, you were yet to be born, you were not there, and so where was I then? What is my source? This we are born, we grow, and we die. It is with everything in this universe. It arises. There is a birth, there is growth, and there is then decay, and there is death. This is so we look for where from it is rising, and then an analogy is given in Vedanta that just look at the waves on the ocean. Those waves rise from the ocean. That ocean is the source of them. They are, when they are waves, you look upon them as waves. Till they are ocean, part of the ocean that is supporting them. Ocean is the sustainer of those waves. And then they fall back into the same ocean. That is the source. So, similarly, we all, everything in this universe rises from that divine. It stays in that and goes back in that. There is this aphorism in the Vedanta Sutras, very well-known aphorism given as the definition of God. Actually, it is the second aphorism in that Vedanta Sutras, Janmadhyasya Yataha, that where from all this birth, etc., happen. It refers to a question that you find in Taittiriya Upanishad, and that Upanishad asks this question. Means the spiritual aspirant asks the question to his teacher, who happens in that case to be his dad, that Adhihi Bhagavo Brahmeti, please tell me about the ultimate reality, the Brahman. And then the teacher says, it is a very beautiful example of teachership. The teacher takes the student from what the student already knows to what the student doesn't know. So, if this teacher is telling only something that the student doesn't know at all, then the student will not be able to connect. It is like that. So you have to start from what the student knows already. and then take to where the student wants to go. Like you call a taxi cab, and then the taxi cab picks you from where you are and then takes you to where you want to go. That is the job of teacher. So the from what the student already knows, what the student knows, this universe of I and mind, and this is this body, I, and these are all my relations, and this is my house, and this is my qualifications and so forth. That like we will say, I am senior. So it is like a description of I am so and so, and these are my parents, and this is the place I live in, and I am planning this and this to go to this college and so forth. And that is how I and my. This is what we know. Now look at this source. यतो वा इमानि भूतानि जायन्ते येन जातानि जीवन्ति यत्प्रयन्त्यभिसंविशन्ति तद्ब्रह्म तद्विजिज्ञासस्व. So it is told there that okay, look where from all this arises, what sustains its existence, and where all this dissolves. That is the God. That is the Brahman. And so that is to be realized. That is to be experienced. So he says, Vijijnasasva. Now you have to dwell deeper to get to that. So Bhagwan is telling the same thing. Look at this source. Bhagwan says, it is enough that one surrenders oneself. Surrender is to give oneself up to the original cause of one's being. Do not delude yourself by imagining such a source to be some God outside you. Your source is within yourself. Give yourself up to it. That means that you should seek the source and merge in it. Very powerful word, friends. This is a great departure from how the common understanding of the monotheistic religions is, who think that there is a God sitting somewhere in the heaven and controlling the affairs of this universe. That is not what Vedanta says. That God is your reality. Think of that within you, and thus you can find it. It is. I many times tell the incident when I was speaking at Brown University in our chaplains meeting on Bhagavad Gita, and after the meeting, our the then Catholic chaplain Henry Boda, his name. So he comes to me and said, well, you were again and again mentioning God within us. We do not emphasize it. When I pointed out to him, do you not read in the Bible that the kingdom of heaven is within you? He agrees that yes, it is there, but we do not emphasize it. And we emphasize, our Father, thou art in heaven, as if that heaven is where far away. So you look at the skies, and don't look at the skies. Look within yourself, who you are, and then the riddle will be solved. Otherwise, if you keep on looking at the skies, that will not really change you. So it is important to surrender that it is your reality. The God is to be worshipped as our true reality, our true self. And that is how we do the worship every day. And that think of the God within us. And then, as it were, for the purpose of worship, we request that God to just come out and sit so that we can worship you. And after the worship, we again feel that the God has emerged in us. That is our true nature. So, that is where one should surrender. Many people feel, and there is a meaning to that. Well, self is all. I am all. I am divine. Whom shall I surrender to? What one has to do here is to learn to separate that you are in your true nature divine, but your ego is an obstruction in experiencing that divine. That ego is to be surrendered. What is this ego? Identifying oneself. Identifying oneself. With what? With this changing body and mind. And that is to be surrendered. So this is a great idea, friends, that in Upanishads you therefore see in the Aranya Upanishad this great idea that how the worship is to be done. Atma iti eva upasita. That forms the basis of all the worship uh, theologies among Hindus. That treat that God that you are worshipping, know that that God is your actual true self and worship. Surrender your ego to that. So this is, and then it is described here that this is a key quote in Bhagavan's teachings on surrender. And by uh, surrendering, that one should surrender by uh, seeking the source of the individual self. He is, in effect, uh, equating the practice of self-inquiry with that of surrender. And the two things are same. Self-inquiry involves surrender of my present understanding about who am I. To get the real understanding, you have to surrender the erroneous understanding. So it is in every advancement we do that. Like when we are climbing the staircase, and to get to a higher step, we have to surrender, means give up the lower step. If we are stuck at the lower step, there is obviously no possibility of our going higher. So, this is the meaning of true surrender. So, Bhagwan, this quote says, surrender can take effect only when it is done with full knowledge as to what real surrender means. And otherwise, we surrender, friends, and not that we don't surrender, and we surrender to our likes and dislikes. We surrender to the so called objects of enjoyment, and then we become their slaves. Whatever thing I feel, I will be getting some pleasure from that. I don't get any pleasure as such, but I become slave to that object. It starts controlling me. So instead of that kind of abject surrender, surrender to your true nature. So this is a very important step here, that such knowledge comes after inquiry and reflection and ends invariably in self-surrender. In Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, you find it so often that this complete surrender, he says, is the last thing in spiritual life. It is the complete abdication of the self. It is the last word in spiritual it comes only through the practice of feeling this ego as the big obstacle. So it is then surrender becomes very easy. Surrender of the ego, throwing away the ego, just like something is garbage, thinking garbage. How eagerly you will throw it. So this ego is the real stinking garbage in life. And let us feel it. We try to hold it on, keep on licking it, thinking that it will one day start smelling nice. No, it will fill the life with that stinking, terrible odor. So, therefore, know it like that and let us do it. So, it is there is no difference between jnana and absolute surrender to the Lord. That is in thought, word, and deed. And what a tremendous, concise, and precise, succinct way of putting this great truth that it is. There is no difference between knowledge and surrender. Hmm. If you dwell a little deeper on this, you can easily see the great connection between these. That the knowledge means absence of ignorance is knowledge. Knowledge of that sort, I mean. Otherwise, the worldly knowledge, it coexists with ignorance. But this true knowledge, uh, it means no ignorance at all. So, in this no ignorance state, what is ignorance? Ego is its manifestation. So, surrendering this ego is the real way to attain to that state. So, it is, and it should be how a thought, word, and deed. There again, many deceive themselves. They think that, oh, I am surrendering it in thought. Should it be in the word and action also? Ah, no, it should be in three, because that is the three levels on which a person dwells. Otherwise, it becomes a hypocrisy. Ah, in my thought, I am surrendering, but actually not surrendering. That should not be the case. It becomes self deception. We have not surrendered anything, just prattling like that. So it is, let us not cheat ourselves. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, that there should be no cheating in the realm of thought, that we often cheat ourselves that, oh, I am as it were surrendering. Surrendering nothing, only if somebody asks us, what did you surrender? No, I surrender in my thought. Uh, there should be a proper expression. So look at the life of Raman Maharshi. He surrendered, gave up everything, not only in thought, word, and deed. So these words are to be seen as the expression of his life and his consciousness. So, to attain the flourishing immortal life in which death is no more, there is no means other than surrender. This echoes what Jesus says, that this old man has to die to get to the eternal life. Old means not old in age, means what you were thinking as I, that has to die. And it is to get the eternal life. You cannot hold on to this, awareness that I am this body and expect an eternal life. Because the very name, what is this body? It is a sequence of so many chemical reactions that are going on. That put together we call it body. It is I am breathing, sign of this bodily physical life. What is happening? And the chemical reactions are happening. The blood, that oxygen is getting mixed with blood, and then it is being supplied all over. So it is chemical action is going on. Then there are food. Again, we see that. So all metabolic actions, respiratory actions, neuro actions, they are all just sequence of chemical reactions. That is body. So that is not the I. That has to go. This awareness has to go. It is very important, friends, that body is just an instrument that we are using, and that is fine. Just as we use car to go somewhere, or use, say, computer to do some work, but we know that I am not that computer. I am not the car. And nobody says that my name is Honda. It is the name of the maybe the car that I am driving. It is not can't be my name. Similarly, my name cannot be anything like say Rajesh, Mohan, Adam, and all that. They cannot be my names. It is the name of the body, this instrument that I am using. My name is, true name is Atman. So this is to be really felt. That is the surrender. So there was a question that if I also be an illusion, who then casts off the illusion? A question that often comes in Vedanta. It is a very beautiful dialectic there, that as to who then casts off the ignorance. If I is ignorance, see, it is very clever question. And again and again this question gets asked, that who is then going to surrender? And the answer is very illuminating answer. You find the similar answer given by Shankaracharya, by Vivekananda, by Sri Ramakrishna. The I casts of the illusion of I, and yet remains as I. Such is the paradox of self-realization. It is a paradox. A paradox means an apparent contradiction. A bona fide contradiction is that there is no solution to it. It is irresolvable. But this is the apparent contradiction is called as paradox. That is, when you look at it deeply, it disappears. So it is, they realize, do not see any contradiction in it. Take the case of bhakti or devotion. I approach Ishvara and pray to be absorbed in him. I then surrender myself in faith and by concentration. What remains afterwards? In place of the original I, perfect self-surrender leaves a residuum of God in which the I is lost. This is the highest form of devotion, that is in Sanskrit called prapti. It means surrender, total surrender. Prapatti, surrender, or the highest vairagya, means highest form of dispassion. So, you give up this and that of my possession. If you give up I and mine instead, all are given up at a stroke. It is not that I give up this, I give up that possession. Oh, I donated my car. Oh, or I donated my money. This is, you are just giving the position that was anyway not yours. You were falsely thinking that they belong to you. It never belonged to you. So what is giving up there? What is to be given up is this feeling of I and mine. Then at one stroke, everything will be surrendered. So there is the evil. Thus the evil is nipped but or crushed in the germ itself. Dispassion, vairagya must be very strong to do this. The eagerness to do it must be equal to that of a man kept under water, trying to rise up to that surface for his life. That is the old Vedanta teaching. And Sri Ramakrishna also quoted this story that a disciple asked the teacher that when will I realize the ultimate truth or God? Ah, the teacher said, we'll discuss it later. Come, let us take a dip in the Ganges and then we will talk about it. Come, let us take a bath in Ganges. So the disciple took that jump in the Ganges. The teacher jumped afterwards and held the head of this disciple under the water. And then after a minute, released this fellow. How were you feeling? The disciple, what do you mean? I was gasping for breath. So when you will be gasping for God like that, then you will realize God. And it is very important to feel that we want God. If we don't want, life is going on otherwise okay. If we don't feel the yearning for it, we won't get it. So it is very important idea. So there is this beautiful uh, quote: surrender to him and abide by his will, whether he appears or vanishes. Await his pleasure. If you ask him to do as you please, which is many devotees keep on doing, that, oh God, I want this, give me this, oh God, give me that. And now, then who is God? That you are not praying to God at all. You are the master, as it were there. You are ordering God, do this for me. So that is not surrender. So this habit, although it is natural in us, this has to be changed. That uh, God, whatever you desire, whatever you think best, please do that. I surrender completely to you. This idea of surrender is in every religion you will find as the very important thing. And that is why you have that story in the Old Testament that Abraham was told to sacrifice his son. Son means, something that is very dear. So sacrifice and put him on the altar. And so, but God has said it. It was told by God. So he saw that that is the command that I must obey because God knows the best. What do I know? If I know more than God knows, then what is the meaning of God? God can never be given a second place in life. If you give second place to God, it is no place to God. That is no God anymore. So that is how it happens. It's a very big theological question. Did he know before putting his son to the sacrificial altar or he didn't know it. So it is, if he knows it, there is no surrender there. It is like the magic, that the magicians sometimes show that, oh, I am going to kill this pretty girl right here. And that pretty girl is made to sleep there on the table. And then a big dagger is taken. The audience is watching with, rapt attention. The breath is held tight. Oh, what is going to happen? Hey, blood splashes. And after a few seconds, that very girl walks out there and says hi to the audience. So it is all already known that the girl is not going to get killed there. So the audience also kind of knows it, that is not going to happen. It is, but this is not like magic. It is something that he is afraid of really. But God says, what can I, how can I go to God? So it is by thy will, not by my will. That Christian prayer also is very beautiful prayer. Uh, Let thy will be done, not my will, but thy will be done. This is surrender, friends. So, or he says another Vedantic method, inquire, the spirit of inquiry, or inquire to whom this question arise. Dive deep in the heart and remain as the self. One of these two ways is open. One is called the way of knowledge, the one that is being told, that was told later. And then what was told earlier was the way of devotion. That whom is this question coming up? Try to find that one. Who is having this question? Who is that reality of me? So, but this part is uh, very difficult in a way. So, because this inquiry quickly stops, because it obstructs our so-called pleasures of life. So, we do not proceed deep enough. But the other way is, in a way, comparatively easier for most people. That to think of the God, whatever idea of God we may have, only condition is feel it as your reality and surrender everything to that divine. So it is, we don't have much time, but still maybe we can take up one more gem of Bhagavan saying that it is. Question was asked to him, how should I carry on Nama Japa, the repetition of mantra, the name? Many as a very commonly used form of spiritual practice, keep on repeating the name or a mantra, or in Christians also the rosaries, they repeat prayers like Hail Mary and all that. So it is, these are the forms of prayer. How should I do that? Because why the question comes, the analysis of question will be very helpful. That you see this the same kind of repetition of the name of God bears results, wonderful results in the life of some great sage that immediately start seeing the truth. In some, the repetition goes on for a long time, and yet they seems to bear no result. What is the difference? Something I am doing wrong. Something I am not doing right. What is that? That is why you see that the person gets try to do the same thing, I am not getting. So I must be doing something not correct. So this is very important to practice, and it is most common practice. Take the name of God, repeat the name of God, and so forth. So it is, and Bhagwan's answer is, one should not use the name of God mechanically and superficially without the feeling of devotion. Just mechanically repeating, well, it may have some little benefit that at least you are not saying some bad expletive words. That is, at least you are uttering the name of God. That much benefit it may have. But when uttered with devotion, then it has effect. It is feeling, Otherwise, as the great sage Kabir says, that turning the rosary, turning the beads, and age has gone past. पिरान मन का फेर माला फेरत जुग भया. पिरान मन का फेर, that turning the beads and age has passed, but the mind didn't turn. So one has to see that the two are connected. Like the car's transmission system, that it is the gears have to get connected. Then only the power of engine will get transmitted to the wheels. Then alone the wheels will move. If your car is put in neutral, and then you are pressing on the gas pedal, only a big noise will come. That's all. There would what an age will be the achievement of this car will not move at all. So our life will not move unless this repetition of the name of God is connected to our mind. So as this one repeats the mantra, there should be a corresponding change has to happen in our mind and thereby in our life. So friends, the clock is telling me that I have finished the time available to me. I am very, very thankful, grateful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to study, again revisit the Ramana Maharshi's teachings, and this book that I was reading for the first time, a very beautiful book of his reminiscences, teachings, collected by very saintly devotees. So I conclude with the prayers. Sarvetra sukhinas santu, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. May all attain to happiness. May all attain to sickness-free bodies. May all attain to that stage where they will be thinking only the good thoughts, seeing good things, and no one may come to sufferings. Om peace, peace, peace.
Thank you, Swamiji, for your enlightened talk to all of us. And before I say anything, I like to recall when Swamiji visited the Arunachala ashram about 6 to 8 months back. He came to the shrine, and it was supposed to be a short visit, and it was a short visit. We asked him to speak a few words. He came to the shrine. I humbly requested him to speak. He just sat on the chair and he was totally absorbed in the shrine here, and he didn't speak a single word. He said the vibrations in this shrine is so powerful, he didn't feel like speaking even a word. My experience with Swamiji is he's so humble to approach, uniquely humble. Whenever I speak to him, he makes me to feel so little and small with his humility. When we requested him to speak this time, he readily agreed. He in fact asked, what should I speak? And we left it him for whatever subject he wanted to speak. Our humble pranams to Swamiji, and I'm very sure we'll be in touch and he will visit the Arunachala Ashram in person to speak about the Vedanta in future. Pranam Swamiji, prostrations to you.